My beautiful kings and queens.
Dr. Edward Robinson Jr., attorney, historian, author, and professor, headed the Philadelphia School District Committee on African and African American Studies for 4 years. He co-authored the guidebook, The World of Africans and Afro-Americans, the groundbreaking curriculum that led the way for the teaching of African American history in the public schools. He co-authored the seminal book, Journey of the Songhai People, which was published in 1970 and still popular today as part of the curriculum of several schools. He co-authored the book, 'Twas the Night Before Kwanzaa, and also produced the best-selling historical album, Black Rhapsody, which was produced in 1987 and is still selling today. He was awarded the coveted silver medal of the Poor Richard's Club of Benjamin Franklin, which included among its recipients Sir Winston Churchill and President Charles de Gaulle. From his earliest life, he learned of his maternal family's Nigerian background of wealth and splendor. His great-great-great-grandfather in Benin City, Nigeria, was both a lawyer and a sculptor. His great-great-great-grandparents lived in a beautiful 3-story home of polished stone. He learned of his granddad's murder by English soldier thieves who stole his sculpture and gold. His widow, grandmother Nzinga, was put on board a ship in 1813 to be brought as a captive to America.
And this abolitionist ship, just luckily for me, captured the ship and towed it to Trenton, New Jersey. So therefore, my great-great-grandmother and her newborn baby, Diane, were welcomed by the white people of Trenton, New Jersey, and adopted. Each one of the 247 families were adopted by white abolitionists in New Jersey. And we were adopted by a white family named Stewart.
He learned all this from his great-grandmother, Nzinga's granddaughter, and her daughter, his grandmother. Then one day he went to see a motion picture called Tarzan of the Apes, and there he found out about the terrible showings of Africa and its people. He then understood how the lies in the pictures had an influence on the minds of African Americans. In 1968, he was teaching a class in executive management at Dillard University in New Orleans. He invited his class of insurance executives to go down into the French Quarter to observe an auction block.
I began telling them about the people who were on that auction block were great doctors, because Imhotep was the first doctor. He was the one that taught Hippocrates. More their eyes began widening, and on that auction block there were great mathematicians. A black man whose name is Ahmes created algebra 3,700 years ago.
As they were standing before the auction block, a vision appeared before Dr. Robinson.
A vision of beautiful people, dressed beautifully, beautiful gay lights on their head, and beautiful satin and velvet. And they were moving around. I could hear the murmuring. They wore finely wrought leather shoes. And I'm standing there with my eyes wide open. And then suddenly, from that crowd on the auction block, a voice boomed.
Edward, tell them who we are.
But from that moment on, I was committed. It seemed as though the ancestors had said, you're the one. You're the one that's got to tell.
In studying the effects of the transatlantic slave trade and its associated process of dehumanizing Africans and African culture in the eyes of the world, Dr. Robinson has developed a systematic solution to the racial problem.
And America suffers with what Dr. Ed Robinson Jr., a Philadelphia historian, authority on African and African American affairs, and father of African Genesis, calls the problem.
And the problem is that we and all the rest of the people in the society, the Asians, the whites, the Koreans, everybody, including black people, despise our Africanness, despise everything that originated below the Sahara Desert. And what was that psychology? It's called a psychological law called paired associate learning. Paired associate learning. That's P-A-I-R-E-D, not P-E-A-R. P-A-I-R-E-D. When you put together the thing that you don't like with somebody you don't like, then the two become synonymous. When you put together something you do like with somebody you do like, they become synonymous. When you put blacks always in a criminal line and always in a ghetto neighborhood, always killing each other, then they are paired together. When you put whites always in beautiful surroundings, marvelous moral standards, then those two become synonymous. Take Color Purple. What big subliminal impact was in Color Purple? Well, because it's subliminal, out of a group of 500, nobody noticed it. What did Steven Spielberg do? And I don't think he did it I think he did it consciously. Look at the color of the men. Look at the color. Think about the color of the various men. Of Mr., the color of the girl's father, the color of Suge's boyfriend. Each one, the more richly pigmented he was, the more bestial he was. The less, put it the other way, the less pigmented he was, the more civil and courteous and humane he was. Nobody noticed that, but their subconscious did. And that impact on the subconscious was much more devastating than you could even realize. What condition are we trying to change? We're trying to change the effects of racism on us. The effects is that we have disproportionate illness. What disproportionate illness? Well, you can go through a laundry list from heart disease to incarceration and trace every one of them back to lack of race esteem.
His solution addresses the problem with a sustained profusion of information through dramatic presentations that teach self-respect through cultural and historical truth, which Dr. Robinson has dubbed African Genesis. Robinson has recently written 5 screenplays based on the greatness of the ancient Songhai and Egyptian kingdoms, and is developing his Whispers of the Medallion story as a feature film.
I'm very proud that he's asked me to be a part of his movie. He's making a movie, and he asked me would I play a part in doing some of the music, and I told him yes, I would. I think it's a wonderful idea, the medallion, and it's an honor for me to be a part of it.
Dr. Robinson is a true Renaissance man and a seemingly ageless phenomenon. He is a unique individual whose passion has driven him to dedicate over 65 years of his life to educate people in a manner that he believes will change the total society's perception about ancient Africa and the ancestral heritage of all Africans in the diaspora.